How's it going, Zach?
Oh my gosh. All right, Jimmy. Oh, that's so good.
Hopefully this recorded your reaction.
Oh, I guarantee it. Oh my gosh.
I can't wear this the whole time, man. It's pretty warm, but
Oh, I did. I
I had to pull it
remember.
out.
I got mine somewhere. It's not near me though. That's too funny.
I have two of them, so I put this one on. My little girl grabbed the other one, and my son's like, "You don't need to wear that. You already have red hair."
Oh, poor Roxy.
All right. So I thought for me anyway, I'd rather than redoing my whole first one, just leave that out there, and we'll do this one as an additional. And I'll just say up front, maybe a little more visual. So if you can watch it on YouTube, watch it. It'll still be good to listen to because I'll be narrating, but I'm going to show some stuff like my See You Jimmy hat that I'm wearing. If you're listening,
Okay.
You can't see that right now, and that's why Zach was cracking up.
I love it. Oh gosh.
But yeah, let me get this off. It's getting itchy too. It's nice to have hair though. Man, I don't know how I stood it. Too hot to have hair.
Oh my gosh.
But
All right. Welcome again to the S.E.M podcast. This is a special episode that we're doing. And as you saw in the introduction, so Jack and I have been having conversations in regards to the fact that when we first did our episodes, we were a little bit sparse in some of our memories. And I re-listened to yours, Jack, and you said specifically, I haven't gone through my journals. I haven't looked at anything, and it was just going off of memory. And I basically did the same thing. So what we want to do is kind of go back through. We're going to start with Jack and his experience, but what we're going to do is have a little bit more visual things. So if you're listening to this and you want to see the things that Jack is going to share as far as visual items, definitely check out the YouTube channel. Just look up S.E.M podcast and you'll be able to find it. We'll share this episode too so people can see it too. But this will just give an idea of some of the memories and the things that Jack has pulled out of the memory box since we started this, gosh, 7 months ago. I mean, it's crazy how fast time has flown by. So, all right, Jack, floor is yours, my friend.
All right. So I think the MTC people have talked about that a lot. I was trying to find my purple dragon, the missionary guide.
Yeah.
I know I actually don't know if I kept that because I never used it. Like in the MTC, they'd be like turn to page whatever. I'd open it to that page and read the paragraph, but I didn't use it for personal study. As soon as I got out in the field, like it was bottom of the trunk. So
one of those relics.
I was looking for a relic, yeah, just to show people. I do have a few relics though that are before Zach's time. So, but I think the MTC has been covered pretty good. It was 3 weeks of learning for us, and it's been really cool as we've gone along through this to find out how that changed for people. Like they took out some of the exercise time, which I don't know how people survive without that.
Right.
But they also shortened the time down to like 12 days. So that would be pretty great. So getting to Scotland, I had this picture and I was looking for it when we had Sister Samus on. I hope she doesn't mind that I took this picture. That's her on Pratt's Hill. I just thought it was like so perfect of her kneeling, and she's dedicating her mission that I'm sure is a sacred moment that I took a picture of. But to me, it represented what it was for all of us,
That's cool. Maybe you can share it with Lauren.
Yeah,
if you have a digital copy, you can send it to her. That'd be a pretty cool thing to share.
I will scan it and email it to her since we're in contact now.
I love
it. But I think that was a really impactful moment for me in the mission, going up to Pratt's Hill and realizing the history of the church kind of started there for my family too, because the Bryce name comes from Scotland. Ebenezer Bryce joined when he was 16 years old, got kicked out of his family and immigrated to Canada, and then down with the Saints down through Utah, and ended up in Arizona, where my family still lives in Bryce, Arizona. So some pretty good history there. And my first companion, Elder Austin, we've actually got him scheduled to come on. I'm pretty excited for that. I think I gave him a run for his money. He is a convert to the church of not long when he went on his mission. And I'd been probably preparing longer than he had, as far as taking learning the missionary lessons and going to classes and stuff. So having him as the first companion, I think, was rough on him and me. And it was 6 weeks. We made it through. But I'm really curious to hear his perspective of that.
Was that Dumfries?
That was Dumfries, yeah.
Okay.
So down in Dumfries and Galloway, and we always. So one thing I do want to share about Elder Austin, we had a car. He was used to driving, being from the UK, and we would drive up to Selkirk for our district meetings, and then usually for zone conference in Edinburgh, we would drive up to Selkirk the night before, stay the night, and then get up early in the morning, finish the trip to Edinburgh. And that trip was like 3 or 4 hours, because we take all these windy back roads. It was through our area and through the Selkirk ward area. Beautiful scenery. And that's the only, for the first 6 weeks, we went that way every week. It's the only way I knew that there was to get to Edinburgh. So when my second companion came, Elder Karish, we drove down that way, down through the back roads, very pretty. And I don't remember if it was the assistants or the office elders. One of them had grabbed somebody from Elder Karish's group who was leaving a little bit early, and they'd driven down to our flat and met us there with something that Elder Karish had left behind, and they beat us to our flat. And I was like, "How did you get here so fast?" I'm like, "Well, we took the dual carriageway down from." It's
No way.
like an hour and a half.
Oh my gosh.
So we could have saved miles in time, but getting to see all that scenery, totally worth it.
Oh, that's too good.
I think I don't think actually when I was down in Dumfries I ever, maybe once, took the dual carriageway up to Edinburgh, because we did need to go and carpool with our district leaders, and plus get to see more of our area that was further out. Some of the members that were further out, we'd do that on the way up. And but yeah, I didn't even realize there's a freeway that comes right down here. And one more memory with Elder Austin before I leave. We were driving down to the border, because Dumfries area is on the border of England and Scotland, and we wanted to get the picture with the welcome to England and welcome to Scotland. And we're like, where is this border? We're seeing Gretna Green, and all of a sudden we see signs for welcome to Scotland, welcome to England, and we just zoom past it right out the mission. So that's a pretty big deal when you leave your mission boundaries. You're not supposed to do that, but foot to you, got the pictures, and got back into our area, back into our mission. But that was fun.
You didn't immediately turn into,
we didn't. No, probably
dust.
If we'd swam across, we would have got eaten by alligators or something. But
oh gosh.
Yeah. So I have. Speaking of relics, this is my first planner. So before we had the white book, we had these blue sheets. This is my very first one from the MTC. I did this sort of thing throughout my mission, drawing, illustrating my planners, pretty poorly, but this actually starts when I was in Arizona. So on the Sunday before my mission, I woke up at 6:30, like a missionary. I went to mission prep at 7:30 at the Stake Center. I went home and studied. I took a nap. I wrote that down. That was a smart move. If you're getting ready to go on a mission, take a nap before you go, because you won't have a chance after.
Yeah, what's a nap?
Yeah. Church at 1:00, then at 4:30. So I must have gone straight from church over to the stake offices and was set apart. My uncle is actually the stake president at the time, And so he set me apart, which is kind of cool. And I even wrote what I had for dinner, manicotti, some good Italian food before we left. And I went to bed on time, or at least I wrote down that I did, 9:30.
Nice.
So I have the delay that I talked about, like our flight was delayed getting over there. So I went bowling with my family while it was delayed. I couldn't go home. And then
your first
flew out.
P-Day.
Yeah. Then I have this whole day of travel. Anyway, they gave us to this when we got to the MTC, and I started and I filled out, what I'd done for the week. So that's pretty good, like journal to see what I did. And to see, it has recorded on the top, like who your companion is. For our proselyting area, I wrote room number 6. I think that's where we stayed. So
that's pretty cool.
I bring that one up now though, because then when I got Elder Karish, it was his last 6 weeks, and he taught me some tricks of the trade of being a missionary. So I have this one, and it's cut like this. So he taught me how to do that, and it folds up like super nice when you do that, and you just right in the pocket, and you put your notes on this throughout the day, people you're talking to, appointments and everything. So that was pretty cool.
He had it down to a science.
He did. And I have written on the back of here, I have the calling card I used to phone home for Mother's Day.
Oh my gosh.
So, interesting stuff on this for sure.
For you kids out there listening, a calling card was a preloaded telephone card with money on it
to use on a landline.
Goodness gracious.
Yep.
You're making us sound old, Jack.
And this was like not BC, not before computers, but pretty much pretty old stuff.
We hadn't figured out computers yet.
I had I have all our dinner appointments on here and everything, though, that I'm going to look back through these and see, who are those families that, like my favorite one in this area I have to call out is the Jameses. Mm-hmm. They're a multi-generational family who's in the church down there in Dumfries. And when they had us over for Sunday dinner, to me, that was like being home, just because you had all the family together, all the way little kids, aunts, uncles, grandparents. And that was a lot of fun. And Sister James, though, did get after me when I was first there. I was eating dinner, and when you're done, you're supposed to put your fork and your knife together to show you're done.
Right.
I probably ate like half their food or something. I was still a starving teenager, and I really wasn't done. But Sister James said, "You need to put your knife and fork together. You're done."
Oh my gosh!
And that was my lesson in manners. So
that's too funny.
That was pretty good.
Did she teach you then, right there, that you're supposed to do the knife and fork? Was that the first time you figured that out?
That was the first time I'd heard that. I don't think so. Sister Vrains gave us like an intro in the dinner when we came into the mission home.
Yeah.
And that was like, you must use knife and fork, which I still do for a lot of things. And everybody in my family thinks I'm kind of weird for it, except my brother-in-law who served in England, and he does the same.
Yeah. I still do the same thing too. I still eat with my left hand. Like I had to learn how to do that on the mission because I used to do the right hand and then you switch and cut. I was like, this is ridiculous. I look like a total, I don't know what I'm doing. It was really quite enlightening, and now I do it forever.
Right. Yeah. It's the right way to do it. So
it is.
So, with Elder Karish, I hope he comes on, but I have to tell this story. We, every Saturday we had dinner with a part member family, and I learned a lot from that family about the customs of Scotland. Like they had a 5-year-old in the house, and the dad was the non-member, and he would have a glass of wine with dinner, and he would give the 5-year-old a little sip with it, and that's just the way it was. But it blew my mind, that's for sure.
Right.
But they were a great family, and it was takeout Chinese every Saturday. Order whatever you want off the menu. I usually got lemon chicken. It was very good. This family, though, they had a pet corn snake. And when Elder Kirsch was my companion, I didn't even notice this thing sitting in its cage in the corner of the room till Elder Kirsch was there. And for some reason, they decided we're going to pull this out while the missionaries are here. And Elder Kirsch has this like fear of snakes, like not just I'm afraid of snakes too, but more like the rattlesnakes. He's afraid of all. So they pulled the snake out, and he's like, "Nope, get it. I'm out. Get it away from me." And I think I held it or whatever, and then we put it back because he really was like terrified. Later that night, we're getting ready for bed. I'm in my pajamas. I'm in the bathroom brushing my teeth, and I hear Elder Karras scream, "Elder Bryce, get out here!" I'm like, "Hang on, man. I'm in the bathroom." Like,
yeah.
it's like, "Get out here right now." He was freaking out. So I go out there, and he's like, "There's a snake in our apartment." I was like, "No, there's not a snake in our apartment, dude. He's like, "Yeah, it just crawled into my suitcase."
What?
And so his suitcase was like open in our living room, one of his suitcases. So I went over and looked in, and sure enough, there was a snake in there. So we don't have any idea what to do. Like, what do you? So he calls the member that we were just at. Like, they have a snake. Maybe they'll know what to do with the snake.
Yeah.
And he's like, "There's a snake in our apartment." And they thought he was joking too, because we just had that experience at their house.
Jeez, sweet.
So the sister's like, "Call 999. Call the cops. You funny guy."
All the cops.
So he does. And they get a hold of, like, I don't know, Humane Society, whatever, to come and get this snake. But here it is. There's proof. We had this
Holy cow.
snake in our apartment. So I don't know if somebody like shoved it through our letterbox as a joke or.
What kind of snake was it? Did they tell you?
So they didn't know right off, but
Uh-huh.
we made the paper, like part
Oh,
of the police beat
serious?
or something. They had a little paragraph in there that said, cops are called to an apartment for a snake, and it's a North American rat snake, and they took it to the Edinburgh Zoo. So maybe it's still there. I don't know.
Holy cow.
But
It's pretty
because
crazy.
the reason we knew that was in the paper, of course, his missionaries didn't read the papers over there. But the member who thought that we were joking saw it in the paper and cut it out for us. She's like, "I'm so sorry. I thought you were just pulling my leg."
That's so funny.
And I thought that was pretty hilarious. But what are the chances, right? The very day that we had this thing with the snake.
Maybe it was a reminder, like, to heighten your awareness and your senses and be like, "Hey, just keep your eyes out," you know?
I
That's pretty
guess
crazy. I don't know.
it was nuts.
It is funny.
My favorite castle in Scotland is down in that area. I'm not going to show a picture of it because you can just Google it or whatever. But Drumlanrig Castle, it's one of the castles over there that's still owned and operated by royalty. Some lord and lady own it and have handed it down. They actually live in Thornton now, which is part of the area of that castle. But the Drumlanrig Castle is available for tour, and they'll show you all through it. And that was really eye-opening to me because they're like walking you through and pointing out like furniture that was made by famous people or whatever. And there's like this crappy dresser in the corner, and they're like, "Oh, that's a Chippendale dresser," and it just
What?
looks terrible compared to everything else in the castle. But anyway,
wow.
to me, that was like, wow, this is this is still a real thing in Scotland. Still have lords and ladies and castles. And a non-member that I've asked several people about. I'm sure that Austin remembers him. Elder Austin, Nathan.
Mhm.
But we called him John the Baptist because he was John. He was a Baptist, and he would take us out to these places. He took me. My first time going to a pub was with John the Baptist, And he's like, order whatever you want. So it was also my first time having lobster.
That's amazing.
But he took us to that castle too, and he was always trying to convert us. We were always trying to convert him. Very respectful and nice.
I'm
Which is
just looking.
sometimes
I'm just looking at
unusual.
pictures of this castle. This thing's incredible. So, for those of you who don't understand the Scottish language, it's spelled drum, Drumlanrig, Drumlanrig, right?
Drumlanrig.
Lanrig.
Yep.
Gosh. Anyway, because I spelled it wrong initially, but that's pretty cool. It looks like something straight out of a movie.
Yeah, it's like a princess's castle. Like it's a castle.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And I found that looking through my picture books, they're kind of in order. One benefit of not having a digital camera, I guess, is that I have them printed out. It's kind of like a journal to flip through.
Oh, yeah, that is cool.
And my kids really enjoy that too, the visual history of Dad's mission,
Yeah.
So with another thing that's important with Elder Karish is he got me on like the companionship unifier things. So with him, I bought a hat. I collect hats. Anytime I go to a place or whatever touristy thing, that's what I get is a hat. So with him, I bought a derby hat, which I didn't dig out for this. I probably should have, but it's like a flat brim cap. And I wore that throughout the mission to keep the rain off my glasses. So probably a lot of people remember me wearing that.
Hey, you introduced me to the flat brim hat too.
Yeah.
Because I think I had an umbrella, which we've talked about in a couple of our conversations. How
Useless.
the wind will not let you have an umbrella. But yeah, I still have my flat cap that's at home. I think it's in my parents' in my parents' house somewhere in one of my mission bins with some of my. It might have been with some of my kilt stuff. So maybe it's in my house now that I think about it.
There you go.
But yeah, I loved it. I didn't care what my hair looked like coming out of it because my head was dry.
Right. Yeah, and it actually kept my glasses pretty dry. You never get away from the upwards spray of rain, but
Yeah,
mostly for companionship unifiers. Occasionally I did shirts and stuff, but I did a lot of ties. So I brought some of those with me too. Like I'm wearing this one. I bought this in a dual pack from Asda with this one when I was in the MTC. They took us to Asda to like introduce us to. And this I've worn for almost every job interview I've had since the mission.
really?
I actually keep it, not right now. I'll probably take it to work tomorrow now that I dug it out again, but I usually keep it in my desk at work in case there's like, hey, you need, a little more formal for this meeting. Throw that one on and remember my mission.
That's great.
This is the one I bought with Karish. We didn't get the same ones. This is my family tartan. The Bryce goes back to Bruce, but Bryce also is part of the McFarlane clan. So this is the McFarlane tartan that I got. So I bought, this is the modern, the ancient one's like more orange. So third companion came in, Robert Livingston. We've had him on. That was a great learning experience for me. I was kind of glad to find out through this podcast, that he's diagnosed with some mental challenges that we didn't know about on the mission. But he and I worked through some of that, and that was, I baptized, and I think Karish's last day, he wanted to go to the very south of our area where we hadn't been before. So we went down there, had dinner with a member or lunch with a member, and did some chapping down there. And we happened to find this lady, left her a copy of the Book of Mormon, and Livingston showed up the next week. I said, hey, we got this lady. We're set up to teach down here. And he's like, well, that's pretty far, man. We're going to burn up our miles, right? Your limited miles on the car. So I called her. I said, hey, Jane, this is the missionaries. Just calling to see how you're doing, if you're expecting our appointment tomorrow. And she said, oh yeah, I'm expecting it. I read the chapter you wanted me to in the Book of Mormon, 3 Nephi 11. but I hope you don't mind. I went back to the beginning and started, and I'm in the second Nephi now.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, yeah, sorry, Livingston, we're definitely going down to this one. And we used up all our miles, but she joined the church. So just
Cool.
incredible experience there. He and I were together for 6 weeks. That was definitely the highlight of the 6 weeks was um, baptizing Jane Wheatley. And she was another sister in the ward by that time who's excited that Osmond was coming. So her, I love this. I love this direct quote. Right? She said, "Well, he better be careful coming into Relief Society," because we'd go into Relief Society to kind of give a report and get people to sign up for DAs. She said, "He better be careful because the ladies will start throwing their knickers at him."
Jeez Louise.
So
Oh my gosh.
that was pretty funny.
It's the Brandon Osmond effect right there.
Right there.
Jeez.
So I moved from there. I went to Cumbernauld with Cade Schmidt, and he's another one that we've got to get on. He was my second longest serving companion, kind of tied with Glenn Parmenter, but we were together for 4.5 months. And when we became companions, I'd only been out 4.5 months, and he'd only been out 6 weeks. So pretty young companionship, which meant we had a lot to learn together. But we had a great time in Cumbernauld, which is it's an interesting area. It's one of the new towns that was designed for walking and driving a car separately. So the addresses are not anywhere they're not on a street. You just have to pick a house number and start walking through the neighborhood and hope you find it. I got pretty good at navigating being there for 6 months, but man, it was terrible.
Oh, geez.
When I went back to Scotland with my family, my wife, a few years later, that's one area we did not revisit, Cumbernauld. I remember, so we always caught the bus. Well, when I first got there, the church was in the neighborhood where our flat was. So that was nice. We just walked down the street and we're at church. But then the church they started to renovate it. And so we started meeting at the high school, Cumbernauld High School. And to get there, we took a bus that went around the neighborhood because these walking paths and everything were separate. And we'd get there. But one day we missed the bus, and I don't know what we were thinking. We should have, since we missed the bus, we should have just gone and walked to church. But we didn't. We waited for the next bus, so we missed the first part of church. And oh man, the ward gave us a hard time because they had a priesthood meeting first, and we missed elders quorum and small wards, right? 30 people, and the missionaries aren't there. That's half the ward's missing.
Yeah,
so
no kidding.
From then on, we didn't try to catch the bus. We just walked to church, and it was pretty lengthy walk, but definitely more reliable than trying to wait for the bus. So
yeah,
but man, I remember that, and we walked a lot there. I definitely wore out my first pair of shoes in Cumbernauld on the cobblestone streets, just walking around. And that was one area where we were doing service at a thrift store in the back. And I didn't like that. I cut that out after 3 weeks. I was like, we'll just pick up trash in the neighborhood if this is what we're going to do. So sometimes on Saturday mornings, we go out and pick up the Buckfast bottles that were strewn throughout the neighborhood. There was some interesting characters there for sure, though. Every Sunday when Elder Schmidt was my companion, we would go to, I think it was Teresa and Alex. Teresa was the friend of Alex. Alex had been in touch with the missionaries for years, 20 years, and he loved feeding them every Sunday. and he would make this dish he called Satan's Sizzler every Sunday. And what he did was throw like a whole chicken and rice, and then I don't know what kind of peppers into this pot and boil it all day until we got there at about 5:30 in the evening. And then he would dump it in a bowl, and that's what we ate in this. We ate it in this closet of a kitchen that had this pot boiling in it all day. The windows were all steamed up, and like we didn't eat with the family. We just ate in this kitchen area. And it was this like steaming hot food, temperature hot and spicy hot. And I would just be dripping sweat, and Elder Schmidt loved it. And he loved Alex and Teresa. They were like very flamboyant, quite the characters. In fact, if I've got the name right, Alex, I might have that wrong. But anyway, he made a trip to Salt Lake City because he wanted to see where all these missionaries were from. And the first sister missionary he saw in Temple Square, he walked up to her and kissed her on the mouth and said, "I'm so glad to see you."
Oh my gosh. I'm sure that was a shock for that sister missionary.
Something to write home about for sure.
Uh-huh.
But to me, that kind of expresses the personality of this guy. And I would always sit with my back to the kitchen door and try to sneak it, like crack it open and get some of that cool air in at my back to try to stem the
heat.
And then every Sunday was the same thing. Every Sunday for dessert was a whole nother like big bowl of rice pudding with a frozen Mars bar or Snickers bar in it and a half a mandarin orange in the bowl.
You should try to make it.
So I do miss, rice pudding and custard. We just don't have those here like they do there.
I bought rice pudding at the store last night, and I'm excited to eat it today. I was like, "Ooh, that sounds kind of good."
But custard, you never see that here. And over there, it's on every dessert. Like you want cake, custard, pie, custard, ice cream, custard, everything. Right. So
it's true.
Oh man. So next show and tell I brought my hats out for this one. I've got these two hats.
Oh.
Right. Did not buy these in the same shop.
Oh, gosh.
Celtic and Ranger hats, because our companion unifier for Schmidt and I, we bought some football jerseys, the kits, but I think they had Carling on them, which I had no idea at the time actually. But
it's beer.
It's beer. It's right. Like having Budweiser across your chest.
That's right.
So I actually don't have those anymore, but I have the hats still.
That's funny.
Yeah, and then so 4.5 months, Elder Schmidt and I, we chapped everywhere. We actually at one time we had four different like ministers of different denominations in our teaching pool. There was one guy I love to death. Like he taught me a lot about what it means to be a Christian. He was part of the Brotherhood over there, or the Brethren. They didn't have a name for their church, but they were born again. And they have a pretty strong society in Scotland of Brethren, really prominent up north. And he was actually a minister or an elder in that church and took us with him we got permission to go with him to a couple of his sermons that he taught. So Gordon Frame, great guy. Like when Elder Schmidt got sick, this guy brought us soup that his wife had made. And just to check on us and see how we're doing. And like, to me, that's always been an example of ministering and how it should be. And then of course he gave me the whole rhetoric behind being born again and lots of discussions around that, which taught me a lot. So when you and I were companions and that guy shouted us down from across the street, that was because he knew Gordon Frame, and Gordon had called him and said,
"Oh,
keep a lookout for an Elder Bryce who's coming up there." So
What are the chances? Because was that in Peterhead, that memory?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's pretty crazy.
So because I went there, I went to Peterhead from there, so they knew where I was going. But we
Mhm.
also had a Church of Christ minister, Adam Barr. He's still actually in Cumbernauld um, with the Church of Christ. He runs a couple of charities there. Great guy, great family. They would have us over for lunch and to have gospel discussion.
Hmm,
Um,
it's pretty cool.
and then we just happened to like chap into a Catholic priest. Um, and it was kind of interesting to be in that area, in that environment, and have these people be our teaching pool, or people who we were able to have gospel conversations with. Um, the other one was, there was a lady who had converted from Catholicism to Jehovah's Witness. And so we were able to have some discussions with her, which was really interesting to hear her perspective on like the priesthood and what it meant to be um, a Jehovah's Witness, because she was very strong Catholic. I think she may have even been like in training to be a nun when she
Hmm.
was converted. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, it was super interesting, and the ward there was great. I remember, this is another funny memory from that area. We had a ward family home evening, and we got uh, a family to come to it. A family we've been having the lessons with them for a long time. Never could get them to come to church because they were very active in their own church. They came to family home evening and they played like two truths and a lie
Wow.
game. I don't remember anybody's except, so the family we brought, one of their truths was that they had met Mother Teresa, which I thought was pretty cool.
Wow.
But then the Relief Society president and playing this game, I don't think it was two truths and a lie, but it was something that prompted this. It was like, put down like something that you wanted to do but you never got to do, or I don't know if it was her lie or whatever, but she wrote in, I'd like to wear a slinky dress just once. It's like this 60-year-old sister who's the Relief Society president and probably like 20 members.
Oh my gosh.
So they read it and they're like, whose is this? Everybody's guessing.
Uh-huh.
It's the Relief Society president. So great impression.
I bet it took a while to find her out on that one.
Probably the last guess. I think they
That's right.
guessed my companion before they guessed her. So
So good. Oh my gosh.
all right. So then I had Elder Hill. We've had him on,
Yeah.
and he talked about our fast for a tie day. This is my tie from that I wanted to share. So I got a tie every week, 6 ties, but this one is the most expensive tie I bought on my mission. And he bought 2 of these. I think he got the second one a little more on sale, but the first one was like 35 pounds or something. It was like $70
Oh
for
my
me.
gosh.
And this is that tie. So this is like my snow tie. Wear that when it snows, and
Yeah.
think of Elder Hill. But he got the same thing in maroon, and I think he got another color too. He said on his podcast what that was, but
That's cool.
expensive. Most of my ties were like 5 pounds or less, because
In the in the
there's
three
plenty
or
of them.
4 pack from Tesco's or
Yeah,
Asda.
yep. No reason to get too elaborate on that. Yeah. So then it
No.
was up to Peterhead. Um, First with Elder Reed for 6
Right.
weeks. We were going into winter, Christmas time. That was my first Christmas in the mission. The members up there were great, taking care of us, just like I think almost everywhere on the mission. The missionaries got really well taken care of around the holidays. Um, Tons of candy and whatnot. I remember there was a member couple that lived in an apartment across the street from us, and we went there for Christmas breakfast, and I think that's where we called home from, was their house. But that was another calling card situation.
You said that meal was it in Peterhead?
Yeah, in
Okay.
Peterhead. And I
Hmm.
think they moved out maybe before you got there. Just a young
Okay.
couple and a new baby. But that's where I
Interesting.
watched on Christmas Day. I watched, I think, the second or third Harry Potter movie for the first time.
Nice.
Yeah, and we had some sort of like zone meeting on Christmas Eve because nobody had any members to go to on Christmas Eve. So we had like a little party get together at the Aberdeen Stake Center, played some football, and I think we watched a Disney movie down there because that was at least part of our mission rules was that on Christmas Day, Christmas time, you could watch Disney movies. And I guess Harry Potter, right? I think the reason I watched Harry Potter was because the members are like, here, we have these movies that you can watch. And they show me like 6 movies. And I think 5 of the 6 were rated R.
Jeez. Oh, gosh.
So I was like, okay, Harry Potter, it is. While my companion was calling home,
That's fun.
But yeah, that was good. And then I got you.
Yes, you did. What was your experience like when you knew you were training and like talk about coming down from Peterhead to the mission home to pick me up?
So I don't remember the trip down. I don't remember like getting rid of Elder Reed where he went or anything. I remember being there and I thought it was kind of cool that it was like right halfway in my mission, been out a year, and then getting to train. It seemed like the right time for me. And I thought it was pretty cool how big you were too. Like I had, smaller companions. Elder Karish was actually pretty big, but I just thought, getting us both in that Corsa with your bags.
Oh my gosh.
Not as bad as when we left and had to have both of our bags in, but
I don't know how we did that.
Miracle.
Truly do not. Plus all the stuff from the flat. Did we do trips? I think we brought some stuff to district meeting before,
we must have
right?
we must have left like, I don't remember, like we took the dryer out of the apartment, right? Because the mission owned the dryer, and we must have took that somewhere.
Holy cow! I completely forgot about that.
But all in that Corsa, for sure.
Oh my gosh!
And
yeah, I don't know how we did that.
Yeah, but I remember you falling asleep on the train up, and I just thought that was funny because my first 6 weeks I was falling asleep all the time too. It wasn't until I had Elder Karish and he's like, it's in the white handbook that you can't sleep while I'm driving.
Yeah.
I was like, no way. So I looked it up and sure enough, there it was. So, but I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, when you talked about your planner, so I pulled mine out from when we were together that 6 weeks. And I remember I talked about how you had me drive like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And
my license was up.
January 25th was when I got to the mission home. It says Pratt's Hill in the morning, meet new companion, and then travel. Yep. 2 days later, it says I passed driver's ed with Elder Bryce. Woohoo. And that was one of the most crazy situations ever. Because like you said, in your previous conversation, we talked about, you literally said, all right, you're driving. And I was like, what? Pardon?
I was just relieved that you had driven stick before, because prior to you coming, I had to teach Elder Reed how to drive stick. And it's terrifying enough just being on the opposite side of the road with somebody who's never done that before, but trying to teach them to drive standard as well.
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, it's not easy when you come from the United States and you're shifting with your other hand, but at least the pedal action and
right.
Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why that was the case. My parents, again, growing up, I didn't have a cell phone even before my mission. So
yeah.
But my mom and dad were always like, well, you need to just be focused on driving. And so I think that's why they bought me a manual vehicle, was so that I'd be focused on driving. And I enjoyed driving a manual. I even, when I got home from my mission, drove a manual for at least another 2 years before I finally gave in. It was just so much fun to drive. So
yeah, that's what I had in high school. I had a manual S.E.M. So
it was so challenging. Like I remember having dreams in the first few months of the mission where I was dreaming about driving home, but everything was oriented on the left side of the road, and I was like getting on a freeway on ramp, going the opposite
The wrong
direction,
way.
and like my mind was playing with me a little bit when I had to get
That's
used
great.
to the orientation of where you are in the car and where the car is supposed to sit on the road. It was really different.
I went like maybe the week after I got home, I went to apply to a job, and I just needed to drop off an application in town. Fortunately, I'm from a tiny little town because I took my sister with me, and I drove. When I turned onto the highway, I just turned onto the wrong side and drove down to where I was going. And my sister was with me, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I sorry." On
That's
Highway 70. But here's my next tie. All right, you've got one of these.
Yes, I do.
That's my tie with you.
My claim to fame with that tie is I'm pretty sure one of the first days that we wore it, we had something that was battered and fried, and it hit that tie, and I had like a grease stain on it for like, I don't know, at least the first that like the 18 months of my mission. I
Yeah.
don't know that I ever got it cleaned
I think
properly.
if you look really closely, there's some discoloration on mine as well. Apparently, we didn't buy a tie that was very good for hiding.
Well, I don't think that one is machine washable like some of the other ones, is it?
This
think
is a
it's a
fancy one, man.
It's a dry clean only or something.
It is polyester, but
I think I tried to wash it, and of course,
yep.
How am I going to get a grease stain out of my tie?
I'm looking at the tag. No washing, no drying. You can
Okay.
iron low.
Yeah.
But
Oh my gosh.
it's a good looking tie.
It was a really good looking tie.
So, and I think we did cover our companionship pretty well in my
Yeah.
first episode because you're my companion.
One of my favorite memories of serving in Peterhead was singing in the choir with the ward. And because I mean, they needed help just as well as anybody. And I remember they didn't have any tenors. And so I volunteered to sing tenor, and I sang with one of the sisters, if you remember.
That's right.
It was I just had her name here. Let me see if I can find it again. But we Sister Holdsworth was my my tenor buddy in the and I'm trying to remember what song we
That,
sang, but every time we sing that song in church, I go right back to the Mintlaw Academy. It is the most amazing because it was just a hymn, like out of the hymn book we were singing. And
yeah.
but man, that was a fun time. Great ward too. Like we talked about, Jim Peden and
Oh yeah.
what's the family's name that was from Fraserburgh that I could not remember when we talked about them?
Oh man.
Was it
Uh,
Gordon Gibson?
no, you're talking about.
Uh,
I have a picture of that too. This is at their house. I'm wearing their little girl's hat. That's who you're talking about, right?
oh, that's the
No,
Owens, the
that's
Owens
the
house.
Owens.
Yeah,
We had. It seems like most of our active members actually were in Fraserburgh that we'd go visit, unless
yeah,
they were in the outlying areas. Not many in Peterhead.
it's true.
So
Yeah, no, one of my favorite things in here too is we had our weekly our weekly goals.
yeah,
For referrals, I wrote 756 referrals, and 32 contacted was our goal because we didn't get many referrals at all. And
that's awesome.
I just I thought it was ridiculous. Like this week, I wrote 50 referrals with 47 contacted. I mean, it was just it was
That's funny.
it was not like the hammer time period of the mission.
I got to jump back. I missed a hat in Cumbernauld.
Oh, really?
Nope. Never mind. I'll get to it because it's in Falkirk.
Okay.
All right. Just got to get things in the right order here.
No, you're good.
But Yeah, Peterhead, man. It was a great time. It was a lot of fun up there with you and digging out the map and looking at every single little castle symbol for the ruins, hunting them down.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at that goal too. We had a goal where we wanted to visit at least 2 castles a week,
There you go.
and we did
That's one goal
pretty
we got.
pretty. Jeez, it's true.
Yeah,
Oh man, it's really fun.
that's great. Oh man. All
But
right.
yeah, you're right. We did cover it pretty darn well. I mean, we just
Yeah. If I was going to rehash a story, it'd be the basketball, the guy who organized the basketball at the high school,
yeah,
driving his car past us while we're chapping and realizing that we actually are those missionaries, and
right.
pretty much wrecking his car into the curb. But it's
Jeez.
good times. So from there, I went to Falkirk with Elder Divine. We've had him on. So he talked about the pink ties actually have, this is, I don't know if I'm pretty sure I bought this with him. I at least have picture evidence that I wore it with him. So see if I can find that real quick,
He
actually.
was the king of the pink ties,
Yep.
as we learned.
Not that one. Yeah, it must be in my other book. But yeah, man. I took some pictures of some weird stuff I've noticed too. So who did we have on from Aberdeen that was talking about the giant pizza? Just recently.
It was Jeremiah Johnson.
There you
That's
go.
exactly it. I was like, I swear there's a picture of you with Peterson eating one of those pizzas. I remember that picture very, very well.
Yep. It was a good one.
Does it say where it was from? Like, can you read it on the box?
It says the Beast Party Pizza. It doesn't say the name of the place.
All right, let's use the internet and find out
Use
where
the internet
that's
to
at.
find the Beast Party Pizza.
Oh my gosh, it's a Beast Party Pizza, Aberdeen. Let's see what it says. Snappy Pizza in Aberdeen is what it says. There's a YouTube video of somebody opening the Beast Pizza.
Got an unwrapping video, huh?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I mean, I never ordered the pizza. I don't know how people had money to order pizza. Like, did they not eat for the week and then they ordered
Probably.
30-pound pizza to share or something?
I know some people were privately funded, right?
That's true. Yes, that is true.
I'm grateful for them because that's how I got, the pizza.
Right. That's right. Oh man,
That's funny.
that is good.
So down Falkirk. Oh man, I had this picture. I've got to find it again real quick. Hopefully, yes. All right. So Falkirk, I was with Ashley Devine. We talked with him. We talked about that. He was followed in by Elder Streeter. So I had 3 in a row from your group.
You did. That's right.
This is my favorite picture. Me, Elder Streeter, and the neighborhood clan on the 4th of July. So these ladies in this picture, Elder Streeter woke up at like 2 a.m. to these ladies singing in the street. They're coming back from the pub, singing "Good Morning, Good Mormons," serenading us.
Jeez.
And they would always be outside, like on their front porch area, drinking in the evening, Coke and rum, and willing to talk to us. And super nice. And when it was the 4th of July, they called us over. They're like, "Hey, we got this American flag and we're going to celebrate the 4th of July with you guys. What do you want to drink?" And that's what that picture is from. Like, they had a little neighborhood block party on the 4th of July for us. Super nice.
That is nice.
And Hopefully Streeter will come on. The thing I learned from him the most, though, was about service. Like, we didn't have much success finding people in that area. We did baptize because of the great job that Pattenden and Divine did in finding people before I got there. But doing our own finding, Streeter was all about the service. Like, we mowed people's lawns, we pulled weeds, we just whatever people needed. We did a lot of service there. He bought 2 houseplants from like some hardware store there, like a Home Depot type place. We were just walking by and he's like, I need a pet plant. I was like, what? So he did buy one that was actually like a pet. It was a Venus flytrap.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we had to feed it like houseflies and stuff. And then he bought a mini rose bush, which I think he named Sydney or something like that. He can come on and correct me if I'm wrong. But he had these pet plants, which was kind of entertaining, especially the Venus flytrap. But pretty funny.
That is good.
And one of the things we did, man, so our next door neighbors went out of town for a couple of weeks and their lawn was getting shaggy. So we borrowed, this is where the hat comes in, I guess. Our ward mission leader was a bus driver for First. And I got a hat from him for the First bus drivers. So but we borrowed a lawnmower from him and mowed our neighbor's lawn while they were out of town because it was getting kind of shaggy. And we found out we were getting whitewashed out. The neighbor came back into town and he's like, hey, were you in my yard? And we're like, yeah, we were in your yard. We mowed your lawn. He's like, he thought that was pretty cool. And the way he was talking, like, we could tell he was going to invite us to go play golf with him. But we were moving that day.
Man.
So bummed. So bummed out about that.
That is too bad.
But yeah, good times. Good times there. Actually, what Falkirk is famous for is the Falkirk wheel.
Yeah.
It's this architectural thing. We would see it as we were working in the area, but I never went out there until I went back to visit.
Oh, really?
Then I rode it. Like, you take a little water taxi type thing and ride the wheel. It's pretty cool. But
is that like isn't it a dam of some sort? Like it's holding water from
So they have locks. I forget which Firth or Forth or whatever is coming together there. It might be the Clyde and something that meet in the middle of Scotland. And they have locks all along the way that bring you closer and closer. But this is like the final thing, and it's maybe, I don't know, 50, 60 feet. So instead of doing a whole lock like that, it's this big wheel that you pull in and it spins completely around, does a 180, and you go out the top.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
You can pay and then you go in at the bottom, right up to the top, go out, and then you come back down. It's pretty interesting. For an engineering guy like myself, is like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Unique is the word.
Yeah, unique. Unique. It's a sculpture as well as a functional thing. So
that's cool.
But yeah, so we whitewashed out, and we talked to, who did we talk to that whitewashed in when they were getting trained? Dang it, what's his name?
I can't remember. How far back?
Not too long ago. Guy who was like an assistant for 18 months. Some Air Force guy. What's his name?
John DePold.
Yeah, DePold, I think, went in there to be trained. I think he whitewashed in when we left. So, I do have to share one more memory before we got whitewashed out, and maybe this is why we got whitewashed out. We were walking through the town center, and there was like this shop that we walked through, and they were selling tobacco tins, and it had a marijuana leaf on it, and I couldn't believe it, like that they were just blatantly selling this. So I picked it up. I was like, Elder Streeter, look at this. This is crazy. And I put it back down, and we kept walking. The next Sunday, we were teaching the Elders Quorum lesson, my companion and I. And one of the brothers in the ward, I forget what I was even teaching about, but he was like, why were you in the town center picking up the wacky backy tins?
Oh no.
And I was like, really? You're bringing this up during my lesson?
Oh my gosh.
Apparently he was watching. So you never know who's watching you.
Wow.
Kind of an interesting way to be reminded of that lesson. But and
Well,
I
how
mean,
did you respond?
I said, I don't even remember how he responded. I was just so shocked that he had picked, like, during the middle of our lesson to bring this up, that his disapproval for me picking up this tobacco tin.
Oh, jeez.
Man. So, like, but I mean, he was right? I'm wearing the badge. Shouldn't be even handling that stuff, I guess. So,
Yeah. The perfect response would have been, "I'm addicted. I'm sorry."
yeah. All of us have things we're working on, brother.
That's it. Oh
Uh,
goodness.
that ward was challenging, just because of, I think DeBold talked about how loud it was in that ward, like just the kind of irreverence of the ward, and thinking about, like, how am I going to bring people who have no exposure to the church and show them, like, this is very challenging. So we had 2 or 3 baptisms in that area, but they were people who were friends or family of people who were in the ward already.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think probably by the time he said that, and me just dwelling on the negativity, it was time to leave. Whitewashed out, clean slate. And then I went to my last area, which was Glen Rothes. So, and with Elder, so this is my Charles Noble tie, and he's coming on in a few weeks. So, wonder if he still has this one.
Nice.
Chuck, if you're listening, take a look. Let us know if you've got it.
Those that haven't come on that you have a unifying tie should be expected to come on the podcast wearing their tie.
Wearing the tie. Oh man.
Oh, that's good.
So Elder Noble, he's an interesting guy. And when I got to the area, I didn't know that it was a car area before I got there. But when they called for the transfer, I never got my license. So last area of the mission, I don't have my license. Elder Noble hadn't been out probably like 6 or 8 months. And so they assumed that he would be the driver of the car. But when they called for transfers, they said, okay, Elder, I think it was Fisher, one of the Fishers was leaving. They said, you're leaving. And then they passed the phone to Elder Noble, and they said, you're staying, you're getting Elder Bryce. And he said, does Elder Bryce have a driver's license? They said, no, he doesn't. Don't you? Because he's from the States. He did not have a driver's license. He never got one before his mission. So they said, okay, well, send the car with Elder Fisher then.
Oh my gosh. So where did the car go?
I don't know where it ended up, where it was reassigned to. I didn't find out that it was a car area until, like, this is where my story's going. 10 days in, we're kind of lost in, like, walking between, looking for, I think, a dinner appointment between members' houses, something like that. We're in this forested area. Elder Noble's got the map. He's standing there. I took a picture of him because he just looks lost. And I'm like, how, you've been here. How do you not know where we are? Or even on this map? And he said, well, we had a car. We were driving before. We weren't. So he never had to ride the bus or use the public transport, walk in that area. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Give me that map.
Oh, jeez.
So it was
That's
a new
crazy.
adventure for both of us.
That's too funny.
But oh man, and it's a great ward there. When I came in, they were doing everything kind of by the book. They had weekly ward mission councils with the ward mission leader doing it, and the bishop was very involved. The bishopric, they had several ward missionaries called who were they were there at the council, and then they would go on team teaches with us through the week. Like, we had another set of missionaries there with us. So Elder Bass and Elder Aurelio, when I got there, they were in the Kirkcaldy ward with us. So they were the Kirkcaldy area, we were the Glen Rothes area. It was a lot of fun. That was the first time on a mission I had shared a ward with another set of missionaries.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of fun with them. And the district was fun. We've talked about that a lot. Headed down to Dunfermline. Every Monday we would get on the express. I think it was the 59X. We'd get on, head down to Dunfermline, straight shot. We'd get there like an hour before the meeting was supposed to start. So we'd hit McDonald's on the way, which was kind of a rarity in Scotland to have a McDonald's available.
That's right.
Got the double sausage and egg McMuffin every week. And yeah, that was like traditional. So Elder Noble, I think he was like, he would lead the music in those ward mission councils and was very into it, like super into it. And the whole missionary council would be laughing at him more than singing the song. And I kind of pointed that out to him, and he's like, I don't care, like I'm leading the music. They sing if they want, laugh if they want, whatever. But from that sort of thing, the ward mission leader there, I think it was Brother Watts. He thought that I was kind of pushing Elder Noble back into his shell. So he made a call to the mission home about that. And I didn't find that out till later, but Elder Noble ended up being part of an emergency move, not to get away from me. I think it was just convenient because Elder Parmenter needed to leave where he was at. And I'll bet President Raines was like, well, I just got a call from this ward mission leader. I can make a switch right now. So halfway through move, I got Elder Parmenter. I think it was exactly halfway through. And then Elder Parmenter was my companion until the very end. So I bought a lot of ties with Elder Parmenter. That's where I think somebody else brought up there's like an outlet, a menswear outlet there that you can get to, and the ties are dirt cheap. So another pink tie, I guess this is one that I bought there, but I have several. Some of my favorites are from there. I've got like a polka dot one with flowers, and they're all nice. And then my last hat too is from there. It's a St. Andrew's Old Course hat.
Yeah.
Because we would, on P-Day, pretty regularly, we would go up to St. Andrews just to check it out. Such a beautiful little town. And so Elder Noble liked to sing. Elder Parmenter liked to sing. I like to sing. Elder Bass liked to sing. Aurelio liked to sing. So we would go up to St. Andrews, and we went to one of the churches up there one time and sang in the church. Like, we asked the caretaker or whatever if we could sing a hymn, and we sang All Creatures of Our God and King. They had that in their hymn book too, and we sang that in that chapel, and the acoustics of the old building and everything, like, so awesome. And I remember walking to church there. We would ride a bus to Kirkcaldy, meet up with the other elders, and walk to church up the hill. I remember walking to church and like singing a Child's Prayer duet on the way up to church at 7 a.m. I'm sure people thought we were nuts. Yeah.
No, just good Mormon missionaries.
Right. Singing appropriate primary songs for sure.
That's right.
So that was a lot of fun. Just being in that ward and having that support. Finishing up there, the one thing that made me feel at home was it was Bishop Jack. And that's my name. So He had a son who had just gotten back from a mission and was still fired up about missionary work. The stake patriarch was in our area, and he had a son who had just gotten back. So this is pretty. His son got back the weekend he got back. He went to a Proclaimers concert in Edinburgh. And I was like, man, that is just the coolest thing. Like, who knew they were still together here in Scotland?
Anything's possible.
Yep. But tremendous support there, and that really helped when we taught Grace Rankin and brought her into the church, because teaching a sister, we always had team teaches with us, and the ward missionaries really stepped up and did that, provided fellowship for her as well. And that just makes it so much easier, for sure. So that's, I kind of did the whole gambit of my mission again, showed some souvenirs, and man, doing this podcast, right, from you go back and listen to the first one, I'm like struggling to remember even who my companions were in order. But we've had half of them on now. We've got a couple more scheduled.
You had more than half.
More than half?
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I think we're only missing actually 3 that aren't scheduled yet. 2. Stratton.
Yeah.
Stratton was my MTC companion. So we need Stratton, Streeter, and Karish. Come on, guys. That will give me 100% because we got Noble scheduled.
We also need Cade Schmidt.
Oh, Cade Schmidt. Yes.
He's the other one. Yeah.
I've been able to reach him. All right. So still some to go, but
yeah,
it's also been like super interesting. I hope other people have listened to the episodes to see how you overlap with other people, like goings and comings that you never knew about. That's been fascinating, right?
Yeah, I agree. It really has been it's kind of enlightening too, to see the people that were there before and also those that have been there after the fact. And just commonalities. You probably did similar things in the same places with the same people, and it's just cool to see that those things continue to happen.
Yeah, so I got one more hat because I did go back in 2011, just before my first daughter was born. We went back. This is the hat I got when I went back. So I never went to Loch Ness while I was on my mission, but I went when I went back. So I got the tartan spikes in the back. My kids love this one.
Does it go like really down, long down your? Oh, it's
no,
like a
it
tail?
just goes on top.
I like the tail
down the back. Yeah, whole monster tail. So
that's great.
I've probably got, I don't know, half dozen hats or more from Scotland that are part of my huge hat collection, and then almost all my tie collection. Man, I think I got rid of all the American bought ties. I take 6 ties out or whatever they prescribe. I never wore them on the mission. I think I gave them to my brother-in-law after I got married. I'm like, here you go.
Yeah, I'll share this story now, and instead of waiting until my recap. But having Ashley Devine was a pretty fun reminder for me, because the MTC was such a whirlwind. But I remember very specifically, he got his wardrobe in the MTC like really nicely drawn out. He got his shirts hung up, and he's got his ties and his shoes, and everything was just very well organized. And mine was just kind of like thrown in there. And my mom sent me with, like a tie hanger that I, kind of toted around my whole mission. And I wore my ties that I took with me on my mission the first bit of the MTC. And eventually Ashley said to me, he goes, "Hey, do you have any better ties?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "What are you talking about? These are pretty good ties." He goes, "Nah, mate, these are not good ties." And I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" He's like, "Look at these." And he showed me like he had quite the collection already. And we learned that was one of his favorite things in the mission. And so he said, "Here, you can have this one, and I'll bring it on when we when I recap my stuff because I still have it.
He kicked you off.
He asked me to send a picture of it to him because he was like considering if he wished he hadn't given it to me.
Yeah.
But it's one of those ties where every time I wear it, I think of Ashley and he's like, here, this will start you off on some better ties. And then obviously we went to Tesco or Asda and figured out that you could get some pretty decent ties for
a
reasonable price. So
real cheap. So here's Hill and I with our ties. He already has this picture.
Oh, nice.
That's all the ties we bought. Well, so we're wearing the expensive ones, right? He's got his maroon one on. I've got the blue one on.
Cool.
But that was a good jump start. Here's the picture of Noble lost in the forest. The things I chose to capture on my mission are kind of interesting. Here's me homesick in Glenrothes, right? The big old saguaro cactus and the concrete on the building. There's, oh man, so many pictures. Such a good time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as we've continued to go through this, like you've already called out those who haven't come on. I'm friends with Kent and Karish on Facebook. I need to send him a message.
There you go. We need Christopher Roscoff Peterson still.
Yeah.
One of our zone leaders. Good guy, taller than us. Needs to come on.
We have that picture somewhere of the three of us standing at, I think it was when we were at Slane's Castle.
It is. Yeah, I've got that one here. Give me just a second. Oh, you won't be able to see it on the computer on this one, but I took a picture of Bass and Christofferson. And if you could see, they bought these like facial hair stuff from a joke shop. And so they're walking down the street in Kirkcaldy with Elder Bass has a goatee.
Get out of here.
Like, who are these guys? These jokers. Yep.
Oh man. Yeah, I think Elder Peterson be great. There's still quite a few that are older than us that we'd like to get on.
We've noticed the older guys are harder to contact. They're less connected
and pinned down.
And get to commit. Yeah. What's up with that?
I don't know. They've lost that fire. We were just too late on for.
Here it is. I found it. The three amigos.
There it is. Man, where did that sweatshirt go? I love that Syracuse sweatshirt. I don't know where it is lost in the ethos.
And I'm wearing a Pima football sweatshirt. That's from my high school.
That's right.
I didn't even play for him. Got the sweatshirt somehow. All right.
Well, this has been fun to go through the memories that have come back.
Yeah.
To you since we started this. I mean, we both have. I still haven't even gone through my journal. The second half that I found, I'm kicking myself because I gotta.
You're missing the first volume still.
I gotta like turn my house over or something to find this journal. I have no idea where it is, but it's on my to-do list. And you know, I'm fortunate too. Like some missionaries, I think Chris Mace said recently that he wrote in his journal every day. And I had a few days where I was like slow, but then I would catch up and like write something just to make sure that I captured. That was when I was more busy later in my mission, but I did write every day.
Terrible journal keeper on my mission. I do have journal entries. My mom read them when I got home, and she's like, "I had no idea your mission was so hard," which means I did a good job writing home. But yeah, having the pictures, having even a few words can bring back a lot of memories. So
I mean, me just spinning through these white ditties, the stuff that's in here is unbelievable. Like, the one thing I wish I would have done is in the notes, I wrote down that I was going on exchanges with the zone leaders, the district leaders, but I didn't write down who I went on an exchange with. And I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
Because that, to be able
That'd be interesting.
to pull that out and be like, yeah, I went on exchange this day with this person and this is where we went,
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Oh, we need to mention, if we haven't already, that we've got a document out there, shared Google Drive document to put in your MTC group. That's another way we can get names of people to help us track them down. So if you remember who's in your MTC group or other MTC groups, or you've got the old harvesters lying around, get in there and help us fill that out. We've got a lot of names in there, actually. But
yeah, and it's a document that if needing expanding, you can expand it. So don't hesitate to put more spaces and write more names.
It's just a Google sheet, so insert rows, edit it.
Yeah. Put in and the aim too, I mean, obviously the majority of us don't remember all of the elders and sisters from our groups that went to other European countries or other parts of the UK, but as long as you can remember those of us that went together to Scotland from the Preston MTC, that'd be awesome.
Yep.
So, and just as a reminder too, there's a lot of you, I've been really surprised that there is, for those of you on Facebook, there is a S.E.M page. S.E.M group page is what it's called. I've been inviting a lot of people to it, but if you're not on there, that's where I like to share updates on podcasts, as well as the Google Doc is there in one of the recent posts. So if you are still on Facebook, join that page. And I mean, shows how little members are currently there. We've got 200 members, and there's quite a few missionaries out there that could easily jump on that. So yeah. Well, Jack, thanks for going through your memories, and I liked your ideas and your format, because
I thought I'd try something a little new.
Now I'm thinking about like which of my companionship unifier pieces I still have, because there's some like I just don't know. I wouldn't know where to find everything.
Yep.
I have a few ties, and I remember having Conway and I bought Dunfermline football kits, which were so plain and boring, by the way. it was just like a white shirt with a Dunfermline logo on it, and I was like, I paid how much for this?
Yeah.
It's just the Scottish Premier League for you, I guess. But
man.
In any case, well, Jack, thanks for going through those things and sharing them. And again, we're going to call out Kenton Carish, Cade Schmidt, Spencer Streeter. Those are Jack's companions that have not come on yet.
And Craig Stratton.
From your MTC group, right?
Yep.
I mean, ultimately, we'll get them all taken care of, but I mean, ideally, I don't know.
We will. We'll interview you posthumously if you don't come on before then.
Ooh. As like a Muppet. So we do the hand puppet.
Go find your ancestors and ask them, what stories do you have? All right.
Well, good. Well, and again, like Jack said, visit 51spylaw.com. There's a contact sheet you can fill out. We've had a couple more of those recently, which is great. Or just send us an email. It's that same website, S.E.M podcast at 51spylaw.com. And we'll keep it rolling. So hope everyone stays well. Yeah, I know it's the heart of winter right now. And but in a few short weeks we'll be into the warm springtime. So hope everybody handles it well.
Love you all.
All right, love you all. Thanks.
Cheerio. Ta-da-nu.
Ta-da love.